All right, hi everyone. I'm Monisha Perkash. I'm former CEO and co-founder of Lumo Body Tech. And so I'm going to share with you how we celebrated failure at Lumo as a way of cultivating curiosity. So what is Lumo? We were a motion science company that used sensor data, advanced algorithms to essentially track human body movements to help people move better, to address things like back pain and running injuries, and also to help people with athletic performance. So we had a pretty amazing journey over 7 years. And in that time, we launched and distributed multiple products around the world. We had hundreds of thousands of customers. We raised over $26 million from people like Eric Schmidt and Jerry Yang. We had multinational partnerships with companies like Apple. We filed dozens and dozens of patents. And we had a diverse team with expertise across the full stack. So hardware, software, machine learning, design, manufacturing, marketing. And what I'm most proud of is we had an awesome team culture of being mission-driven and collaborative, transparent, and curious. It was an environment that people genuinely loved to come to every day and work, and lots of deep friendships were formed. So I'm going to do a really quick demo, and it may just take me a minute to set it up. It will give you a little flavor of what do I mean by motion science platform. What was it that Lumo was so great at? So if you'll just bear with me for 1 second. Here we go. So I'm wearing one of our sensors on my lower back, and there may be a little bit of a lag just because of the connectivity, but you'll see that it will track my movements to a fairly high degree of resolution. So as I'm walking, my little avatar walks. If I run, you'll see that he runs as well. And as I mentioned, we are really good at tracking posture. So I'm going to stand straight. I'm going to kind of tilt my legs forward, and lean forward, lean to one side, or the other side. It'll track sitting posture too. May I borrow this? He's frowning. The sensor vibrates to remind me to straighten up, and I do. Forward. So you get the idea. This is what we're really good at, is using very small sensors, basically accelerometers, gyroscopes, to understand human body movements to a very high degree of resolution. And so we embedded this technology, the sensors, as well as really where the magic sauce, the secret sauce, was in the algorithms. We embedded that into all of our products to help you with things like posture correction, gait analysis, gait correction when you're running so you could avoid injury. So let me just switch back to my presentation. All right. So that's the polished story. That's the external facing story. What's the not so polished story? What really happens, and what's on the inside? And what were some of the failures that we had, and how did we learn? So this is where it all started. My co-founders and I came together. We were selected as entrepreneurs as part of an incubator program that was part of Eric Schmidt's venture fund called Innovation Endeavors. And we were given 6 months with a little bit of seed financing to explore a bunch of ideas of our own choosing. And the expectation is at the end of the 6 months, we would pick one of those ideas and launch it into what would hopefully become a big, bold business. And so in that process, we kind of look for that sweet spot of innovation. It's that convergence, in this Venn diagram between viability, business viability, is there a market? Tech feasibility, can we build it? And desirability. If we build it, will they come? Do customers really want it? So with every idea that we looked at, we kind of put it through the lens of viability, feasibility, and desirability. And we took what we call the drunken walk of entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is we'd find an idea that we loved, we thought it was great, silver bullet, and then we'd realize it had a fatal flaw, and then feel really bad about it, feel like we failed, feel like, oh man, that was a stupid idea, what were we thinking? And then we'd come across the next idea and feel really great about it. And so we kind of went through this drunken walk of the entrepreneur, and with the hope that we would eventually find that idea. And we did. We found something that we fell in love with, that we felt met our criteria of viability, desirability, and feasibility. So we started with finding the pain. And I don't mean my co-founder, he's amazing, Andrew, but he had back pain. And he discovered that posture classes helped his back pain pretty significantly. This was a guy in his late 20s, so very young, and he would have back pain that was so debilitating that he couldn't even get out of bed some mornings. And through posture classes, he learned how to manage his back pain to the point that he could go to work and live a very functional life. And so that was the first aha moment for us. We're like, wow, posture, back pain, they go hand in hand. The second was, wow, there are millions of people out there like Andrew. Back pain is a big problem. It's the second most frequent reason why people go to the doctor. It's outnumbered only by the common cold. And in the workplace, it's a leading cause of disability claims and missed work days. So we knew there was a big problem that we were tackling. But we also knew we couldn't build a product and a business off of one person. And we went through something that we learned from the Stanford D School, the design school around human-centered design thinking. This is a concept that you guys do design, yeah. So, and it's cool because when I was in school, I didn't learn about this stuff, So it was new for me as an adult to learn a completely new way of thinking about solving problems. And so the way it works is you start with empathy, really trying to understand your end user, your customer, and what are their needs, what are their problems. You try to define what the problem is very clearly. You ideate on solutions. You prototype some solutions to the problem. You test it, and as you test it, you do it with deep empathy. You really try to understand from the lens of the user. And so we went through that process for ourselves. And we did it by looking at a lot of other people who had back pain and studying how do they deal with it. What are some things that work for them? What are things that don't work for them? So this is one guy that we studied, and we had dozens and dozens, but this is Mark. And this guy had back pain that was so bad, he had configured his environment in all sorts of ways to try to adjust for his back pain. Sometimes he would lie down, he'd work lying down, because that's the only way he could deal. He would use stacks of paper to adjust his height because he needed to constantly adjust his height. He had all sorts of ergonomic contraptions, from special chairs to, his monitor being adjustable. And then we looked at how do people who go to physical therapists deal, right? And so one thing we learned from physical therapists is they use this technique called taping where to try to keep your posture upright. And what happens is when you start to slump over, you feel the tension from the taping, and it's that feedback to remind you. So this was a key insight that we had. We realized, okay, posture and back pain go hand in hand. what is it that's so hard about posture? It's remembering. It's the awareness, especially as we get more and more addicted to these guys. And we're in line, we're constantly doing this. It's just becoming a bigger and bigger problem. It's that lack of awareness. So we realized, we really honed in on the problem to solve was awareness. How can we help people be more aware of their posture so that when they are slumping, they can self-correct? And so we went through the process of prototyping and ideating. And we really embraced this idea of prototyping early and prototyping often. Corollary to that is fail early and fail often. Because as you do that, you gain these insights that allow you to pivot and get closer to what is the ideal solution. So this is how we did it. We came up with this idea that, okay, people need awareness of their posture. What can we envision that will help them? So we came up with this idea and just put it on a little paper prototype. And we went around and we said, imagine that this is a sensor on your lower back, and when you slouch, it vibrates to remind you to straighten up. Would you like that product? People went back and they're like, oh my God, I would love that product. Can you build it for me? I want it, right? So we built it. We took like little toy helicopters and took out some of the parts, and we went to Joann's Fabric, and we went to the Container Store, and like it's funny. I have my daughter. She would come into the office and she's like, "Mommy, do you guys do arts and crafts all day?" Because that's what she would see. I was like, "No, this is real work." We had a lot of fun doing it, and so this was our second generation prototype. And here was our third, where, oh wait, sorry, I'm losing track. This was our second generation. Here's what it looked like. And then we actually built the third one to be functional, the second one, it was just for form, to see, okay, what would it feel like? And the third one, we actually put the smarts inside of it, where it was an adhesive form factor. The sensor slides inside, you put it on your lower back, and you slouch, it vibrates. Well, guess what? The very same people that said, I would love that, hated it. Anyone have a guess why? It was uncomfortable. So it turns out a fair number of people have hairy lower backs. And putting an adhesive on a hairy lower back just is not ideal. Also, it was very sticky, and we were going for a consumer product. We wanted something that made you feel great. It was all about celebrating, health, not about feeling sick. And so the adhesive form factor made people feel like it was kind of like a medical product. And they didn't want to be reminded that, there was something in their lives that made them, not as capable as they'd like to be. Also, storage was a problem. So you take it off, it's sticky. How do you store it? If you store it right side up, it gathers all this dust. You put it, down, it sticks onto the surface. So we scrapped that. Realized this isn't really what we're going for. So then we thought, well, what if we use the clip form factor? So what we're trying to solve for is, because most of back pain is in the lower back, we were trying to get the sensor to be on the lower back. And so the question became, how do we attach it, right? So going to the adhesive, let's take little clips you put onto your underwear, the waistband of your underwear. And most people wear underwear, so it should work, right? And generally, the waistband is in the right spot. And so we figured, let's do that. So, like that little clip, like that's from little girls, like hair clips, and so you probably see a lot of these materials are things you can get at any store. And so we tested this form factor. And what we realized is it was a no-go. Any ideas why? Go ahead. So sometimes it fell in the toilet. That wasn't a great user experience, right? One of our advisors agreed to be a tester for it, and he took it home over the holidays. and apparently was kind of peeking out of his pants because he wears his pants kind of, slightly low. And his mom, she's like, so is that where young people are storing their cell phones these days? And so trying to explain that to his mom was not a fun experience, so we had to scratch that. And so that's when we were lucky enough. Well, first of all, we were feeling incredibly disillusioned. We were feeling like, this is just, this thing is fatally flawed because we can't find the right form factor. So that's when we were introduced to Mike Nuttall, who is one of the co-founders of IDEO, and we shared with him this challenge that we were having. And he is like, well, why don't you think about the heart rate monitor, but wearing it lower, so like a belt. And so we thought at first, no, that's not gonna work, but we actually each bought a heart rate monitor and we wore it for a week around our waist and found, wow, actually, it's not bad. We kind of forgot that we had it on. So the comfort was reasonable. And so we prototyped a belt form factor, and again, went to Joanne's container store, or to the container store, and got a little strap and made a belt form factor. And we got a lot of great results, especially with our early adopters. We probably had like 40 people out in the field trying it, and they had reasonably good feedback for us. So we launched a Kickstarter campaign. And we were able to double our goal within 1 month. We had thousands of customers giving us money for a product that didn't even exist yet. So we thought, amazing, like we are off to the races. This is going to be the next killer idea. And we built it. We went to manufacturing and actually built it. And this is what we launched with. Now, when we put it out in the market, we got some feedback that, well, it's not that comfortable. The breathability of the rubbery part wasn't as great. The band kept coming off. So we thought, okay, well, let's improve upon all those things. And we made some design improvements. In retrospect, I realized that we were actually thinking evolutionary, not revolutionary. Yes, we made the form factor thinner and smaller. It was more breathable. Yes, we improved the clasp. But it still wasn't really taking off the way that we wanted it to. We found that for people who had very severe back pain, they were motivated to wear it. But for the majority of other people, it just really wasn't a mass consumer product. Another piece of feedback that we got is for a lot of people who wanted to improve their posture, they were more concerned about their shoulder slumping, right? And because the sensor for the belt is on the lower back, it was much better at picking out lower back slouching. So we went back to the drawing board. We're like, let's just start from scratch. Let's rethink this whole thing based on all the feedback that we've been given. And we started testing, well, what if we put the sensor on different parts of the body? And what we actually found is placed right here. It captured your posture fairly accurately, because at the end of the day, your spine, obviously it's connected, and it's very hard to slouch with this part of your spine and not curve the bottom, right? And so what we found is that by having it up here, it not only captured the entire spine, but it also captured the shoulder. And also, this form factor is much easier, right? It's two parts, I like to call it. The brains and the beauty. So this is the sensor, this is just the magnet. And we had this in all different colors and designs. And similar to the belt, when you slouch, it vibrates to remind you to straighten up. It also connects through Bluetooth to an app on your phone, and all sorts of fun things happen on the app as well, such as the avatar, as well as tracking how many good minutes of posture you have, tracking your steps, your calories, lots of exercises and things like that. So this is the product that took us to mass market. We were one of Time Magazine's best inventions of the year. We got all sorts of great write-ups. We were, on Amazon. It had very high ratings there as well. And then after that, we expanded the platform to also include running. So we created a little device for running. It's a running coach. It clips onto the waistband of your shorts, and it gives you real-time feedback on your running form. So the experience is a little bit like a coach is running alongside you, whispering into your ear how you can run better so that you can, run more efficiently. When you run more efficiently, you not only run faster, but you also prevent injury. So this was an opportunity for us to demonstrate that what we had built was a platform, not just a product, but a platform that was about many things that are related to human movement. And so eventually what happened last summer is the company was sold to Seismic, which does powered clothing. And so they are taking our technology and integrating it into smart clothing. So reflecting back on my experience from doing Lumo, there's some key takeaways that I had, which is you have to be very, very needs focused. It goes back to the human-centered design. What problem are you trying to solve? It's really good to be highly collaborative, especially when you have multifunctional people coming to the table, from hardware to software to manufacturing to marketing. I mean, at our peak, we had 40 employees, and I'm really proud that with just 40 employees, we were able to do everything that we did. Embracing constraints is really important, right? And just giving yourself these limitations, because that is when you have your best innovations. And failing forward, and failing early and failing often. Just not looking at failure as, oh my God, this is a disaster, but looking at it as, okay, now we've learned all the ways to not do it, and that sets you on the path to how you can do it. And it really is a different mindset, and one that if you embrace, you actually will find that it will unlock solutions. It will unlock creativity that you just never even realized was there. And if there's one thought I'd love to leave you with, is the greatest risk is not taking one at all. So when you think about your lives and the journeys that you have ahead, think about that. Don't take the safe route. It's boring. It's not where you're going to grow. It's like, take those risks. And that's what life is all about. You'll enjoy it much more. Thanks.